And welcome back to The Price of Business. Your guest host today, Bill Knapik, sitting in for Kevin Price, where we talk about you and your business. And now we have another great guest. The show continues. We have Steve Reily. He is with Global Experiences. Steve, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Bill. It's nice to talk to you.
It's very exciting to talk to you. Steve, first of all, let's tell people about your company, Global Experiences. What is it that you do?
Great. Well, I think most of your listeners will find we're a pretty unique business in the world of international education. We provide career development through international internships. So think study abroad, but instead of going into a classroom environment, the core of our program abroad is an internship in your given academic discipline or career field.
That sounds fascinating. So it's around the world. So you're placing people in other countries to learn their craft or interest?
We are indeed. So we have programs in 10 different locations around the world right now. Most of them are in Europe. So we have programs in London, Dublin, Barcelona, Paris, Milan, and Florence. And then we have Shanghai, China, Sydney, Australia, and we have a program here in the States in New York City, and another one in Washington, D.C. So it's really truly a global model. We have Australians coming to the U.S. We have Americans going to the U.K. We have Brits going to D.C. and all around the world.
Well, you certainly...
It's unique. Most of it's facilitated through online marketing and communications and Skype and Google Hangout and that kind of thing. But we work with about 1,500 businesses globally, and we place interns for 2 to 3 month internships in whatever their respective career field is or academic discipline. About half of our students are getting university credit for the program these days. So we've partnered with a lot of universities, mostly here in the States, but also in Australia and a few in Europe at this point.
You couldn't have a better name for your organization because you are providing those global experiences, no question about it. And that sounds like I'm already thinking of the places I want to go that you've named off. But in the meantime, how do people find out about you and how do they know about what you offer so that they can go and have these experiences? How do you reach them?
Well, we are, our storefront, so to speak, is www.globalexperiences.com. That's, of course, where you're going to find all of the information, including our contact details and so forth. But there's a number of articles, a lot of PR has been picked up around the country just around what we do because, again, it's just pretty unique. We've partnered with several dozen universities here in the U.S., a lot of students that are going to schools like Arizona State, USC, Texas A&M, Salisbury University in Maryland, lots of different schools have all of the information that they would need, especially if they're looking for credit through their study abroad offices, through their own university websites. There's a lot of word of mouth. We have no shortage of people that are interested in the program. It's just being somewhat of an unconventional study abroad-like program. It takes us a little explanation to help them understand what we do for them and what they're going to get out of the program. So this isn't a classroom experience where you're just going to go into yet another classroom. I think study abroad is fantastic, but if you have an opportunity to immerse yourself in a foreign culture and a foreign environment, you've 15 to 18 years in a classroom as it is at that point. Why not go and get some practical work experience in your intended career field? Put some international work experience on your resume, and it will differentiate you from the millions of others that are entering the workforce every year.
That's right. The world is your classroom in this case, and you're providing that entree into the world to be in that classroom, right? We are. And then what we do, the internship is certainly the core of it, but what we really do is get under the skin a little bit of each one of our participants through a pretty intensive career development program. So we've partnered with Gallup Education. We provide something called Strengths Finder, so we get everyone goes through an assessment, and we help them understand what their natural strengths are, and therefore the types of tasks and roles that they're going to be naturally predisposed to be good at, just to give them a little bit more self-awareness. Everybody's great at something. It's just, as a young professional, it's very difficult to know what those things are until you go through a little bit of life experience. We try to help them accelerate what their understanding is, and therefore their confidence,
of, where in the workforce that they might have some natural ability. We then couple that with their passions, so we help uncover what their passions are so we can kind of connect those two things in addition to whatever their academic experience is. And then, of course, much like a recruitment company would, we have to help them with their documentation, so their resumes and their cover letters. Of course, they haven't had a lot of experience up to this point in their lives and their young careers, so we really help them present themselves as a better candidate. We go through mock interviews, and we basically teach them how to find the right job for them and how to position themselves to actually get that job when the time comes, and sit across from a prospective employer with a lot of confidence and self-awareness, and now with a little bit of international work experience so that can actually get the job.
You were right. You have a very unique company, and it's very interesting. Let me ask you this. As far as the country that the person would go to, is that dependent upon their desire, where they may say, Steve, I want to go to this country, or is it dependent on the skill that they're looking to further?
Yeah, that's a good question. Typically, they come to us with an idea of where they want to go. So unfortunately, a lot of Americans want to go to London because it's a pretty easy place. It's a native English-speaking environment. It's cool. The cool factor is certainly there for London. But somebody who comes to us and says, I want to do an internship in, say, fashion design. We have some of those employers in our database, and we can certainly make that happen in London, but we might get to know that individual to find that they're really serious about going into the design side of fashion and not, say, merchandising or business. So we might help them look at a place like Florence, Italy, or Paris even, to say this is much better for your potential career move. Now, let us help you understand what life might look like or the type of experience that you're going to have in Italy versus London. So we'll just work with each one of them. It's like a fingerprint. There's no perfect one-size-fits-all for a location, for the internship. Of course, we have strengths in some areas ourselves. So if somebody comes to us and says they want to do a finance placement in Italy, we'll say no right off the bat because the language barrier alone usually prevents them from having a substantive experience on both sides, not just for the intern, but also for the business, because you want to make sure that there's good outcomes for both sides. Another thing, the term internship tends to get a black eye out there because people think about photocopying or coffee running and that kind of thing. No, there is a little bit of that lower level administrative work. We have what's called an 80-20 rule, so 80% of what the interns do has to be substantial work that is geared to the program that we put together with the employer and with the intern before they leave. So it really depends. They usually come with a location in mind. The wanderlust of going to a place like Italy certainly overtakes the practical entrepreneurial environment of a place like Dublin for a lot of people. But after 20 minutes, half an hour speaking with our admissions counselors, they tend to see a much broader picture and the opportunities that avail.
Yeah, I was going to choose Milan, Italy, just to go for the food. But in the meantime, what was this is a fascinating business, Steve. What was the inspiration for this business to begin with? I think it's just phenomenal.
Well, it really was just born out of the only two things that I and my wife, Emily, who's the other co-founder of the business, the only two things that we knew, travel and education. We had spent a number of years traveling abroad, studying abroad. I taught English in Hong Kong for a year. I got a master's degree in Sweden. I was on a Fulbright scholarship over there. Also where I met Emily, who was from Sydney, Australia. So she came into my world with a pretty unique perspective. And once it was time to figure out ourselves what we were going to do, we looked around the things that we knew and loved and found a little space in international education that really wasn't a big focus. Study abroad was very big, but the opportunity to give some kind of practical experience to help boost one's resume, to help accelerate their path to choosing the right career, just opened a door. Next thing you know, I'm teaching myself HTML and web design and search engine optimization, and Emily was trying to figure out how to build relationships with employers abroad and sign contracts and figure out visa laws. And then we had to find accommodations and all these other ancillary things that we now provide in all of our programs. So it's a very complex business because not only do we have, salespeople and marketing and all of the conventional business departments that any business would have. We have staff on the ground all over the world. We have cultural sensitivity, unlike most businesses need to have, because we're sending people into work environments in Florence, which is a lot different from Paris, and then again from Shanghai, certainly. And then we have visa laws that change regularly. We have accommodations needs. We have all kinds of things that are kind of moving parts. So I think the complexity and the diversity of that type of environment, at least for me, I can't speak for Emily, but I think I probably could, appealed to us.
Well, very
and
nice.
It really wasn't done. When we started the business, it really hadn't, there was no industry per se. And now it's really grown. So many universities are actually calling us these days, which is nice.
That sounds great. Well, Steve, tell people again the website, and they can learn more about your company.
Yep, it's globalexperiences.com, and you can jump on there and find just about anything that you need.
And it's
Get in touch with one of our admissions counselors through any of those forms that you'll find on the site. Pick up the phone, give us a call. Go and search reviews. There are other providers out there these days. We were really the pioneer. And just encourage you not to look for the least expensive option. You want to make sure that you do your homework and go and check out all the independent, objective reviews out there. And I don't think you'd be disappointed in reaching out to contact us.
Well, very nice. Thank you, Steve, for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Reily with globalexperiences.com. Check him out. You're listening to The Price of Business. Your guest host today, Bill Knapik, sitting in for Kevin Price. Stay tuned. We're going to be coming right back with even more.
Welcome to the hotel.